NuCanoe Nation, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Unlimited podcast. Been on a little bit of a hiatus with show season in full swing, so missed you guys. Glad to be back. Hope everybody had a wonderful Valentine's Day and treated your little sweetheart with a little dinner so you can get some extra kayak accessories for the boat for the season, maybe a few baits, flies, rods, reels, all that good stuff. So do us a favor, drop in the comments where you're tuning in from, what kind of boat you're floating out of. We don't even care if it's not a NuCanoe. Share this up on the old Facebook. That's what I'm doing currently. And let's get some folks in here, have a conversation tonight as we go through with our guest tonight, Peter Jordan from Delta Marine. If you guys have any questions, drop those in the chat. We will get those answered to you. Hope you guys are doing well, man. It's good to be back. Been on a little hiatus, like I said. We got the wheels greased back up and ready to roll. So our guest tonight, like I mentioned, Peter Jordan. He works with Delta Marine and Outfitters down in Daphne, Alabama, which is right near Mobile. And he also owns the Lost Angler Fly Shop. So we're going to get a little insight from him. I know he does some really cool fishing down there. We're going to see how he unlimits himself on the water and get his story and what his shop is all about. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Peter Jordan. What's up, my man?
Hey, Brian. What's up, buddy? Thank you so much for having me this evening.
Absolutely, man. Glad to have you. And, man, you're in the deep South. It's good to talk to somebody with a fresh perspective on something different. So it's good, man. I know you sent me that nice, cool photo, which I'll pop up here real quick. You out in the NuCanoe doing a little fly fishing, which is always nice. So it's nice to have a fellow fly fisherman in here and do a little chatting, man.
Yeah, totally. I just want to thank my buddy Nick Eubanks who did that photo shoot for the store. It was the first time I'd been able to get the NuCanoes on the water, and he was nice enough to go out and use his photography skills. So big thanks to him. But no, yeah. So I guess for me the big pull to the NuCanoe was in two things. One was how just it's an open concept. I can make it whatever I want to be, which was
Sure.
really awesome. And the second thing was the pivot drive. A lot of our tournaments, pretty much all of our tournaments down here are based around you can only use self propulsion. Like you have to do like say a fin drive or a pedal drive, or you have to paddle it. And I fly fish. That's all I do. Which not saying anything against spin fishing. I've got one of my good buddies, Scott Kennedy. He's a local NuCanoe pro staffer down here. He's an amazing angler. Awesome. I fly fish. That's my way to get down. And the pivot drive was the first drive unit I'd ever seen that I could actually use, because if you use any other drive unit and you strip fly line down to the deck, it just tangles up everywhere. But being able to pull the drive unit up, get it out of the way was insane. It really was.
So you mentioned tournaments. So are you fly fishing and kayak fishing tournaments?
I used to. That was years ago. I don't really do that anymore. I do guide out of the NuCanoe Pursuit and the NuCanoes in general. When I do it strictly as a fly fishing guide. And it's a boat that allows me to do that and lets me take people out. It lets me have them to where we can sight fish for redfish, or we can get out and do some bass fishing, or maybe we hit the dock lights or whatever else. The Mobile area is such a varied fishery. It really allows for tons of different kinds of fishing experiences. And I tell people all the time that there's always great fishing to be had in our area. It may not always be for the species that you want,
Sure.
but it's always great fishing. And it's a place for, as a fly rod angler, we have a wonderful, small, but growing community of fly anglers down here. But a lot of times, if we're fishing somewhere, these fish have never seen a fly. They've never seen that different action. They've never seen that different way of presenting a lure to them. And it's a stupid effective way to catch fish down here.
Super cool, man. Super cool. I mean, geez, I've been selling NuCanoe since 2018, and it's
Right.
like any fly fisherman that ever comes in the kayak shop, it's and they mention that they're going to be fly fishing out of it. It's the first one you go to, right? Because it's got the nice, complete open deck for that fact that you were talking about stripping line onto the deck. It's not getting caught up on 8 million accessories. You can keep that deck nice and clean.
It does, and I always recommend for my flyingers. I generally recommend the Pursuit, and the reason I recommend the Pursuit is because when you put like the fly reel dock in the back, I
Sure.
can put a 9 foot fly rod in the boat and it's protected, right?
Sure.
So let's say I've got nice TFO. I don't want to bust out $400 because I went through a limb,
Yeah. Right.
like, and so like if I'm not using my rod tubes and something happens, that's on me.
Sure.
But the fact that it's protected, it paddles as well as it pedals. That's really rare. Pretty much every other pedal-driven boat that you're going to go with
Sure.
was designed around first to have that pedal situation. So if that drive goes down, you're SOL. And every one of the NuCanoe boats, from top to bottom, paddles extremely well. Some better than others, but they all paddle very well. And you really don't have that advantage with other boats.
No, I totally hear you on that, man. That Pursuit paddles like a beast, and even smoother with that pivot drive attached to the
Mhm.
back as well.
And when you're
Oh,
working dock lights, the way the pivot drive, goes with the drive in the back, instead of every other kayak, you have the drive unit that's in the middle of the boat, yeah, and
mhm.
then a rudder at the back. The boat has to move. Let's say it's 6, 7 feet from where the drive is to the rudder. The boat has to move 6, 7 feet forward in order for the rudder to be able to work. But like dock lights, or let's say I'm not standing up, I'm not having to stand up and fly fish. If I can do it from a seated position, entire trout, I can stay in position. I can do all of that and never out of um, out of the pursuit, and I never have to. It's instant. Cool.
Sure. You're breaking up there a little bit, Peter. We'll give it a second to catch up, but
Gotcha.
I think you're back caught up now.
Am I
So you
back in
were
the world
lagging
of
a
the
little
living?
bit. Yeah,
Oh,
you
sorry
were
about that.
lagging a little bit. That's what happens when you live in the deep south, bro.
It can be. Right now, our area has. Oh, I'm lagging again. I see.
No, you're good. You're
Oh,
good.
okay. We have a tremendous amount of growth in the area.
Sure.
So as a result, we don't always have. Sometimes the signal and all that can be a little dodgy. Like
I hear you,
most of
man.
what our stuff is done is by AT&T.
Sure.
So if they're doing work,
It might be a little sketchy. I get it. I get
well,
it.
yeah.
Well, what let's back up a little bit, man.
Mhm.
So, you obviously work with Delta Marine and Outfitters. You own a fly shop. So what got you into all this stuff? What led up to you starting your own fly shop and working with Delta Marine?
To know I've been out for a long time. And and so I knew I had to figure out something different. And I just so happened that one of my former customers I sold a boat to wanted to start a marine dealership, and he offered me the job to start Delta Marine Outfitters. I accepted, and we went on from there. I had the idea to open a fly shop because this was in the middle of the height of the pandemic. We opened the store in 2020, and I really wanted that more constant touchstone for people than that occasional um, interaction. Whether we
Sure.
had kayaks or the boats we carry, and they said that that was not something, which is understandable. But they said, no, man, you go for it. If you think this is something you want to do, then do it. So they had a lot of faith in me, and I really appreciate it. And we opened the Lost Angler Fly Shop here, and that's grown as well as the rest of the business too. So it's a good complement for one another.
No, for sure. It's a one-stop shop, which is super cool. I mean, I was having that conversation the other day. If you can go into one place and get all the things you need rather than shopping here, shopping there, ordering online over here, it just makes life so much easier. And being that one go-to one-stop shop, man, that's huge.
It can be, and also too for where we're at, we're really fortunate to have some really nice kayak shops in the general area, like within hour drive of the store. And so that's been really cool. I only deal in NuCanoe for my kayak. I do other types of boats, but only deal in NuCanoe for the kayak. And it's because I felt like the product was unique enough to be a standalone product at the store, if that makes sense, for
Sure.
in its division, right? Because between the Flint, the Pursuit, and the Unlimited, and I do sell the Frontier 12 as well. Not as nearly as many since the Unlimited's come out, and that's not a knock against the Frontier 12. It's just that the Unlimited is a very similar boat and creates so much attention.
Sure.
Um, and I use the Unlimited a lot. I use it a lot tandem. I use it. It's a phenomenal piece of equipment. It really is. Um, but NuCanoe itself allowed it to be a standalone part of the business.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah,
So
because
you,
I don't know of another brand that you can put the pivot drive on. You can put an outboard on. You can put a bow mount trolling motor on. I mean,
right.
there's no wrong answer to how you want to set this boat up.
There is a reason why we used unlimit yourself as a slogan.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
there is no limits and the possibilities are endless,
yeah.
It's
Being able to work with folks like Blake too has been awesome.
yeah, that guy's all right. I like him.
Don't say it out loud, but
Yeah.
yes.
I think we'll keep him around for a little bit,
Yeah, I reckon. Now,
He's
especially now
probably
that he lives down the street from us.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh
He's
yeah.
a hop, skip, and a jump. That's
I
cool.
know.
That's
Oh,
very cool. So you know, you're going out. How did you get into the guiding situation? Was it just part of hey, we have an opportunity here, get a lot of people asking where they should go fishing?
that was a
Or
lot of it. It was a lot of it, and I had started guiding from a kayak with fly fishing before BP had its oil spill in 2010.
okay,
And when that happened, my wife and I we moved upstate because it kind of shut down the Gulf Coast area there for a little while. It was kind of rough
sure,
as far as like that was concerned. It did amazing things for the fishery, though. I do want to say that we were very fortunate in that we didn't have really much oil at all come into the Mobile Bay estuary, like period, which was wonderful. But what it did was, which was so cool, it shut down the entire fishery for a year. Right? Nobody fished it. Nobody did anything. And when we came back, we moved back down in like 2013 after things had kind of recovered because it took a little while. And man, the fishing was so good. It was just so special because it had that time off. And then opening up the store here, it was something I was already familiar with doing. But like you had asked, was it something people were asking for? Yeah, totally. And we have so many people that are new and moving down to the area that my goal is to be able to take people out and help them to have what I call a repeatable experience. So when we go out in the kayaks, I really want to spend as much time as I can explaining this is why we went here. This is what the
sure,
conditions said that we need to be in this place. If the conditions were different, this may not be where you want to go. When we're fishing for this kind of fish, let's say it's redfish, we need to look at these circumstances because it's my belief that as a store owner and as a steward of our Bay Area, that it's better for me when people are having fun and when they appreciate the resource they have available to them.
No, it's super unique, man. And that's one of the things, like, anytime I've taken a guide out, I judge a guide on their teaching aspect, which it seems like you're focusing on. You know, any guide can take you out and say, "Yep, throw your bait right there," and catch you a fish. But going that extra mile and explaining why we're here, what we're looking for, you know, what the conditions need to be in order for this bite to be on, like, so that way later on down the road, I can go out, look for these same things in my area where I'm going to fish and have that repeated success like you're talking about, man. That's
Yeah.
huge. Like,
And I
some of
know
the
I've done a good job if, let's say, I see you and your kids or you and your friends out there in the same kind of spot.
Mhm.
Because I know I've done a good job if I get a call back from you guys later going, hey guys, we went out there and we had a great time. You know, we were able to go back and I was able to share this with somebody that was important to me.
Sure.
Then I know I did a really great job. And the shop too, I try to do two tying classes every month. We do big quarterly events. We do demo days for NuCanoe. But what I try to do is I kind of also have other guides in the area, other folks that have a ton of experience come in and they get to talk. They get to have seminars. And so I hope that the shop, from a kayak standpoint, from a fly shop standpoint, from a boat standpoint, uh, always is a resource for all the folks in our area.
Yeah, that's huge, man. That's huge. Being that resource, I mean, that alone is priceless, you know? Yeah, I mean, trying to find out that local insight, that local info, can sometimes be a struggle in certain parts of the country. And the
It
fact that
really can be. It really can be. And I've noticed too that, and this is, not a knock against conventional anglers at all because they push the boundaries so much. I've said before the best fishermen in the world are fishing BASS.
sure,
It's all there is to it. But the one thing that I do love about the fly fishing community down here, and I realize it's not like it everywhere, but down here, it's always and I think it's because it is such a small community that's
sure,
trying to grow. Is that it's such a open book as far as people trying to really share with each other what's going on, what's where's the fishing and all that. And I'll say this too, for our area especially, the kayak fishing community is so open and so accepting and so down to share. Like one of our local clubs is called the Mobile Bay Kayak Fishing Association. I got involved with those guys 2007 and stayed with them pretty active till we had kids and all that kind of business.
sure.
But they do stuff called the fish outs and they do it once a month. They get people to come down and it's just a local, let's get everybody together, let's go have fun, let's meet the new members in the area. If you bought a Walmart kayak or you've got a brand new NuCanoe, these guys don't care. Guys and gals, of course, they don't care. They want to go out and they want to, share that. And these were the kind of people that helped me learn so much about our fishery when I came down here from Central Alabama. I mean, how could you not want to just pay that forward?
Sure. No, that's huge. And you know, you hit the nail on the head. It doesn't matter what kind of boat you're in. It's just the fact that you guys are all sharing the water together. It's that
Yeah,
camaraderie aspect that we always talk about in the kayak fishing community, you know,
yeah,
and that's what makes it so damn special, you know.
it really is. It really is. And then I love how if I put 15 different, just take so my favorite new canoe is the Pursuit. For millions of reasons. But if let's say we put 15 folks who had pursuits together, every one of them would be different. Every one of them be equipped differently,
Sure.
and just seeing those DIYs, those modifications they made for all of their needs, to me is one of the coolest parts about
Yeah.
kayak fishing.
Yeah.
I love it. I love when we have owner days and people bring up their stuff. I'm like, bro, that is cool. Or man, I don't know that I do that, but that's still neat.
It
Or you have that. Why didn't I think of that?
it's almost like a car show, right? Like where
It
all these
is.
guys are doing their customizations to their hot rods and things
It
like that,
is.
man. And that's how I kind of recently described that to somebody, you know. It's and you're seeing more of it too. Like a lot
Yeah.
of shops across the country are inviting folks down to, you know, display their rigs, and that's how we
Mhm.
all kind of gain ideas to formulate our own personal touch on our own kayaks, which is super awesome. You know, the kayak world has always been DIY. I mean, every accessory out there is because there was a problem and somebody went in the garage and came up with a solution for it, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree, and that is super cool. It's super cool, and I like to tell people that there's not a wrong answer.
Sure.
If this works for you and this is what you put together to make your situation work, then you did the right. Then it worked. Then it was right. It was the right answer.
Sure. Sure, sure, sure. So, what's your favorite accessory on your NuCanoe personally, other than the pivot
Um,
drive?
Other than the pivot drive.
I'm not
So
going to
I
give
would
you that one.
definitely fine, be that way. So if you're gonna get the pivot drive, I always recommend that you get the locking 360 seat, not the
Okay.
standard 360, but the locking 360. And the reason is because this lets your base stay in one position when you're pedaling. And this is true whether I'm using an unlimited, I'm using a Flint, I'm using a F12, or I'm using the Pursuit. I want everything to stay where it's at. And this way I keep myself in alignment. I also, on all of my pursuits, always do the seat riser kit because it puts my
Yeah.
hips in the correct position for that. And I understand that the Pursuit is a faster, slightly narrower boat.
Sure.
And people do have concerns about being a tippy boat. I'd say it's not, dude. I'm 220 pounds, and if I get stuff tangled up in my drive, I just step over my seat and go get it.
Sure.
So if my big butt can do it, anybody can. But you definitely, if you do want to do the pivot drive, I definitely recommend the seat riser, and I also recommend the 360, the locking 360. That's a big deal. And if you go outside of just what NuCanoe offers,
Sure.
I always like to do the Yak Attack. I always add a 14-inch track piece so that I can put a double header to put my paddle outside the boat,
Okay.
and then I put the cup holder on there. I gotta have a cup holder.
Everybody has got to have a cup holder, man.
I think so.
I
I
think
think so.
that's got to be the number one selling accessory that's out there, is a cup
It
holder,
has
no
to be. I
matter who
told.
makes it.
Oh no, Blake was at the store a while back. He's like, "What would you change if you could change a few things about the Pursuit?" I was like, "Man, I'll tell you right now, three things. First off, I'm so jealous of everyone that owns the Unlimited because of that handle in the back.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's the greatest thing ever. No getting around it. It's the best thing to ever happen in a kayak. Number two, that thing's got cup holders for 4 days, right?
Sure. Yep.
And then number three, I want that. I love how the on the Flint and on the Unlimited, how the paddle holder is on the outside of the boat. That's
Yep.
so cool.
The taco clip handle,
The
man.
taco clip is where it's at.
I like it. I like it. Super cool, man. Well, before we start winding down here, man, I always ask every guest on the podcast, you have a Frontier 12, it's
Hmm.
rigged up tandem. You can go fishing with anyone dead or alive for a day. Who's it going to be?
Mm. Does it have to be a famous person or just
It could
who
be
I
anybody.
enjoy the most?
It could be dad, grandpa, son,
Hmm.
wife, uh Bill Clinton, whatever it is. It could be anybody.
Let's see. If I've got the Frontier 12 and we're rigged up, um, personally, I'd probably take my wife. I'm really blessed in that my wife is my best friend, and she's also one of the most amazing anglers I've ever met. So if anybody gets bored and wants to check the Lost Angler Instagram page, she is sitting there holding tons of freaking huge fish, and she can do it on a spinning rod, she can do it with a fly rod. Like she is a super cool lady, and she's super. She's got that. She knows how to feed a fish, if that makes sense. So much what we do for redfish down here
Sure.
is we see the fish and then you lay that fly out to the fish, and then you have to read that fish's reaction. And she does that super well. And so that makes a really cool thing. Now I know you guys, we have a lot of folks that come down here around here for vacations and all that kind of stuff that bring their kayaks. Is there any questions that you have for me about our fishery if people want to get down here, what they should go after?
Yeah. I was going to hit on that next because you mentioned the Gulf Coast oil spill, and I'm
Hmm.
sure there was a stigma around that for a little bit, even though
Yeah.
you guys didn't get much of it where you're at. But now that things have caught up, like, obviously you guys fish a lot of freshwater and saltwater.
Yeah.
So let's start on the saltwater side, and like let's clarify too, because I'm sure people would be, a little weary of, fish in the oil spill. We don't have any fish with three eyes, correct?
No, 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 no. That's long been taken care of. We're very fortunate. The anytime we do have an event like that, you have to remember that the thing that nature is going to do is just through natural dispersion. The more water that's coming through there, the better off. That kind of helps out. The Mobile Delta, I want to say, is the third largest delta in North America. I could be off, but I believe it is. And there's so much water coming through this area that it doesn't allow anything. There's 5 rivers that are going to enter into Mobile Bay,
Okay.
just at the top, much less the 4, 5 other rivers further down, right? So there's a tremendous
Sure.
volume of water coming through here. So we're very fortunate. Um, so no, we don't have to worry about that. And it's an amazingly diverse fishery too. We could go to, let's say we went down to Fort Morgan. You guys can Google this. So if anybody's going to go vacation down around Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, that's it. You can easily get to the bottom of Mobile Bay on the eastern shore side, and you'd have, like, let's just say we went down around Fort Morgan. If we're on the beach side this time of year, we've got pompano, we've got redfish, we've got speckled trout, we've got bluefish. In a little while, we're going to start to have Spanish mackerel come through any day now, because it's a little bit unseasonably warm this right now. We got fish are moving. We're going to start having bonita, all that right off the beach, right there. And that's something you can totally do from a kayak. You can go out there, get past that first breaker, and really have a good time. You get out there early in the morning, you can chase those schools. You work your way down the beach, be attentive. You can see pompano, and then there's really no end of stuff you can do. That's just on the beach. We come around to the other side, and we can do redfish, speckled trout, sheep's head. In the summer, we'll have Jack Crevalle. And I mean, so it's a humongous. That's just in one area, man. I mean, we
Yeah,
haven't even
really
worked our way
crazy.
up the rest of the bay. It's insane. So it's a tremendously diverse fishery that let's say you go further up. Like I was fishing a river today that not only at the mouth of it is going to have redfish and speckled trout, but we're also going to have Gulf strain striped bass. And moving up, we're going to have bass, crappie, catfish. So it's a tremendously. I mean, it's always a good day to fish down here.
Yeah, it seems like basically you wake up in the morning and go, what do I want to go try and catch today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what you want to do though is you want to look at what your conditions have. Mobile Bay is a north-south bay, okay? And what you want to remember is you want kind of that holy trinity of things to work out. You want to have the right amount of dissolved oxygen. You want to have the right salinity, and you want to have the right amount of turbidity. And a lot of this can be found on the NOAA website, so that's really cool. So if you go to the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Association's website or whatever, um, you can go and you can see that info from buoy data. And what we want to see is we want to see a salinity is going to be 18 parts per square unit and up for saltwater fish. Our brackish water fish are more tolerant. We want to see dissolved oxygen at 80% and up. And then, if we're going to sight fish, we really want that turbidity to be like 5 parts per square unit and down. So just kind of, if you can kind of put that together, you can take a huge body of water like Mobile Bay, and you can separate out that 10% that really holds fish really well. And so if anglers have questions about that, they're coming on vacation, I'm super happy to go in detail explaining that.
Yeah.
And if they go to Lost Angler on YouTube, I've done a video helping out with people that are coming vacation in here too.
So just real quick, like layman's
Mhm.
terms, because I'm an idiot when it comes to salt water. Like, what do you mean by salinity? And then I think
Okay. That's a great
turbidity or
question.
something?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you for slowing me down.
No, 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 you're good.
That was probably like drinking from a fire hose. Um, so salinity is just how salty the water is. Okay.
Okay.
So certain bait fish, and so what you have to remember about, okay, so let's say like earlier today, okay, before I opened the store up, I went to go bass fishing, right? Just a couple hours before the store opens up, always nice to do. These fish are, as everybody knows, extremely structure oriented. I was in a river. So they're orienting themselves around structure and based on current. That's what's relevant to these fish. We get into saltwater, other factors start to play in, okay? Such as where the bait fish are. The number one thing these fish are, you have to remember redfish and speckled trout, they're going to have a basic area they like to live in,
Sure.
but they're going to move constantly, right?
Right.
So let's say I'm going down a bank and then my buddy Scott Kennedy, we go around each other. He goes down the same bank, right? Well, he could go past me, blow past me, and he runs into like 4 pods of redfish that I never saw because they never crossed into my periphery. Does that make sense? Because they're coming in and out.
Sure.
Because what they're doing is they're chasing bait fish. They're moving with the schools of bait fish and shrimp and stuff like that. And
Sure.
these bait fish, this forage, they're moving based on that salinity, based on that dissolved oxygen, and then based on that turbidity. And that salinity is how salty it is. Some fish, some bait fish, are very tolerant to fresh water. Like mullet can go way on up a freshwater river, right?
Sure.
Say anchovies can't. Or shrimp, certain times of the year, in the spring, in the fall, they might go way up a river to scatter spawn. But during the rest of the year, they can't do that, right?
Gotcha.
And so that's what they're doing. You have to look at what your season's forage is. So just like if we're fly fishing in a trout stream, we might say, hey, I need to match the hatch.
Sure.
We're doing the same thing here, but we're looking at it on a much bigger scale. And so that can be really intimidating for new anglers coming down to this area.
Yeah, right on. No. That's a great explanation. What is turbidity then? If salinity is the salt content, what is the other half of that?
No problem. So turbidity is the amount of particles in the water. So let's say we went to the river today and we just had a big rain and there's all kinds of crap running down the river. And it went from being that, kind of that pretty clear to that nice little healthy green color. You get in a lot of nice rivers down here.
Sure.
To just chocolate milk, man. That means your turbidity is way up. Okay. Whereas you go to that same creek or river during the summer and it's just gin clear, the turbidity is extremely low. So think of how turbid the water is. How nasty is it?
Yeah. So the water clarity basically is what we're
And what we're looking at the water clarity, it doesn't affect too much your fish. But for me as a fly angler, I'm sight fishing 90% of the time, 99% of the time. I want to be able to see. So I know if I've got a good amount of dissolved oxygen, and just like in freshwater and saltwater, they're very depending on dissolved oxygen. But if I've got the right amount of salt and I've got the right oxygen in the water, fish are going to be there.
Sure.
Now, whether I, as a fly angler, can do a good job of targeting these fish, if I can't see them, I can hit all my right percentage spots, like creek mouths and things like that. And there's still a really good chance that I'm going to catch fish. But as a fly angler, it's so much more fun if I get to see that take. And that's one of the best parts about fly fishing for me, right?
Sure.
Not for everybody, but for me. In salt water, whereas you put me in a freshwater system, I'm a streamer junkie. I love just chucking stuff and waiting for something to come out and smash it.
I like it. That's good stuff, man. I feel like I need to come to Alabama and do some fishing now.
Totally, man. Totally. And then certain times of the year, we have like in the fall, which is one of my favorite times to fish down here. We have big bull reds that are going to come up. They're going to move in somewhat onto our flats. And so from September through late December, we're going to have huge redfish. And then what changes that is our ability to access them based on tides. So the earlier parts of the fall are a little bit easier to access the places they like to be at. And the cool thing about Mobile Bay is because of the shipping channel, these large redfish stay in those shipping channels because the rest of the bay might only be like 8 feet deep, but in the shipping channel, it's 50 plus feet deep. So you'll still have those fish down there.
Interesting. They just kind of slide up and down that water column.
That's exactly what they'll do. So let's say you're on the causeway, and again, we're going to be doing lots more videos. So if somebody's actually interested in being down here and following this kind of stuff, you can just check out Lost Angler on YouTube, and I'm going to be doing more and more stuff and whatnot to help kind of people understand what's going on. But we'll just take an example of the causeway. And the causeway for us is that area that is the bridge area that links Mobile to Daphne and Spanish Fort and all that. The place where I'm at, right? Well, there's a bunch of wonderful flats out there, and each one of those wonderful flats will have a corresponding river. So, like, let's say you've got the Appalachie or the Blakely River or whatever. Well, as you come out, salt water will stay is denser than fresh water. So even though I'm at the top of the bay, and if you look at it from the surface reading, there's pretty much no salt in the water. Like if you look at it from that. But because of the way redfish operate, they're very tolerant to fresh water. So they'll stay in that channel most of the day, kind of soaking in that salt, and then they'll go up on the flats to feed. And these fish during that time of year will be 30 inches and up. So it's a really, really cool fishery.
Nice.
So it's very seasonal too.
That's cool, man. That's super cool. Well, before we close it out, man, I want to just give you an opportunity to shout out where folks can find you, maybe hire you for a guide, how to check out the shop, the fly shop, and all that good stuff, and then maybe follow you on social medias, YouTube, things like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. You can check out the website for Delta Marine and Outfitters at deltamarineoutfitters.com. And you can follow the store on Facebook and Instagram if you want to see what's going on with the fly shop. And in general, most of the stuff gets posted to both. You can go to Lost Angler, and Lost Angler has the YouTube, the Instagram, which I've had the YouTube Lost Angler channel for a long time. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and even now TikTok. So
Nice.
That's a new thing. Yeah, and if you want to book a trip with me, holler at me through the Lost Angler website, or you can just call the shop. And if you don't want to get into fly fishing, but you do want to take a guided trip on Mobile Bay in a NuCanoe, you'll need to get a hold of my buddy Scott Kennedy. He's around the shop a good bit. He owns Whistling Water Kayak Fishing, and he's an amazing conventional tackle angler. So between the two of us, whether you want to throw a fly or you want to throw some conventional tackle, we'll get you on the water having a great time, and we'll make sure you're in a NuCanoe. You get to try out the boat before you buy it if you want to.
Nice.
And then you can also see the demo days. We'll be doing demo day in March.
Oh. We still got you there, Peter?
You got me. Was it?
You kind of cut out. You cut out at demo day in March.
Yeah. So there'll be a demo day in March. It's going to be with Five Rivers. It's a local park up here. And as soon as Mark and I get that date worked out, we're going to put it on all the social media. So you're Scott, Kennedy, Kyle Rayburn, myself. We'll be out there with NuCanoes in the water, so you can try out each of the NuCanoe models with the pivot drives or just paddling.
Nice. All right, everybody, go give Peter a follow. Delta Marine, give them a check out if you guys are down in the southern Alabama area near Mobile, and just check it out. Book a trip, go out, have some fun, rip some lips, and just have a good old time on some new waterways.
Yeah, and even if you don't want to book a trip, but you just have a question, feel free to call the shop, man. That's what I'm here for.
Love it. Peter, we want to thank you so much, man, for taking the time out away from the family and stuff to sit down, just chat a little NuCanoe and a little fishing with us tonight. It's greatly appreciated, my friend.
No, thank you guys so much for having me. And again, thank you to Blake for suggesting this show. It was a ton of fun. And if y'all ever run out a guest again, like y'all did this time, apparently, I don't mind helping out.
Right on, man. Yeah, we'll definitely have to get you back on and pick your brain some more on that, on the whole fishing scene down there, because I'm intrigued.
It's
man.
really cool.
Like
It's a really unique thing, and you could break it down to do a whole show on freshwater, a whole show on saltwater. It's season by season. It's such a really cool fishery. I like to tell people, when you're thinking of redfish, imagine. So as a fly angler, you're probably familiar with how legendary fishing in Louisiana is, right?
Sure.
And then then you have Charleston, where so many of us love to go after Taylor and redfish. What I always like to say is the Mobile Bay area is kind of imagine that Louisiana and Charleston had a baby. It's a
Ooh.
good combination of those two.
Ooh.
We can have. I like to tell people our fish are going to be more just in redfish now. The rest, whole nother story for the others, but our fish can be in the same size class as Louisiana redfish, but they're much more educated. They're tougher. They're going to be
Gotcha.
harder. They'll actually refuse flies. You can make a lot of good moves and screw up once and blow them out. So they're a challenging fish, and they'll occupy places that are in little amazing intimate tidal creeks like you find in Charleston. So it's a really special fish for you guys.
That's very
And
cool.
a NuCanoe especially is one of the best ways you can access it because it's not because of the landscape in the area. You don't really have a lot of waiting options, but this is a game changer.
Love it. Love it. Thanks again, my friend.
No
Appreciate it.
problem.
Everybody out there, we will see you next week. We're here every Tuesday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 5 o'clock out on the West Coast, talking to awesome guys like Peter and getting their insights on, why they love NuCanoe, types of different styles of fishing and things like that. So we will see you guys next week. Thanks, everybody who tuned in tonight. Till next time, boys and girls, tight lines, smooth paddle. See you.
See y'all later.